The moment you stop needing someone, you find out exactly who they were to you, not who they said they were, not who you believed them to be during all the years you leaned on them, trusted them, brought your problems to them. Who they actually were, underneath the helpfulness, underneath the loyalty, underneath everything that felt like love or friendship or support. Carl Jung would tell you, this isn't a coincidence. The moment your need disappears is, in his framework, one of the most psychologically revealing moments a relationship can produce, because it removes the one thing that was holding a certain kind of person in place. And what happens next, in the days and weeks after you stop needing them, tells you more about that person's psychology than years of ordinary interaction ever could. But here's what I want before we go any further. And I mean this genuinely, because the comment section on this topic is going to be more interesting than usual. Think of someone specific. Someone who was deeply involved in your life during a hard season, a difficult job, a difficult relationship, a period where you were struggling or lost or rebuilding. Someone who showed up, who helped, who maybe even defined themselves by being there for you. And then think about what happened when things got better, when you didn't need the help anymore. When you started standing on your own, did they celebrate or did something shift? Drop it in the comments right now, even just one word. Celebrated, disappeared, got weird, turned on me. I'll tell you why each of those reactions makes complete psychological sense by the end of this video. But I want your answer first, before you hear the explanation, because your gut memory of what happened is more honest than anything you'll think of after I've given you a framework for it. Now here's the thing I want to plant before we get into the specifics, because it's going to change how everything else in this video lands. What insecure people do when you stop needing them is not actually a reaction to you. Not really. It looks like it's about you. It feels personal. But Jung would point you towards something happening entirely inside them, a structural collapse in their own psychology that your independence accidentally triggered. We're going to get into exactly what that structure is, why it collapses, and what each type of reaction means about the person having it. Let's get into it. Before we get to what they do after, we need to understand what was actually happening during, because the after only makes sense once you see the during clearly. Jung had a concept he called the helper archetype. Not a character type exactly, but a psychological role that certain people inhabit with great intensity, particularly insecure people. The helper is the person who is always available, always generous, always the one you call when things go wrong. From the outside, this looks like pure virtue, kindness, generosity, care. But Jung was interested in what the helping was doing for the helper, because for some people, not all, but a specific kind, the act of being needed is doing something very important for their internal architecture. It's generating a sense of worth, purpose, significance. Every time you called with a problem, every time you leaned on them, every time you couldn't manage without them, it quietly confirmed something they needed confirmed, that they matter, that they have value, that without them, something important would fall apart. This isn't sinister exactly. Most people running this pattern have no idea it's happening. They genuinely believe they're helping because they care about you. Both things can be true simultaneously. They care about you, and being needed by you is silently doing the psychological work of keeping them whole. The caring is real. The dependency underneath the caring is also real. And it's the second thing, the hidden thing, that explains everything that happens the moment you stop needing them. Here's a scene that will probably feel familiar. Picture a woman named Rosa. In her early 30s, going through a painful divorce, job uncertainty, the whole architecture of her life coming apart at once. Her friend Diane is extraordinary during this period, showing up constantly, answering every call, dropping everything to help. Diane tells Rosa regularly that she's there for her no matter what. Friends around them notice and admire Diane's devotion. Diane herself feels, during this period, a particular kind of aliveness, purposeful, central, essential in a way that her ordinary life doesn't always make her feel. 2 years later, Rosa has rebuilt. New job she loves, new confidence, new life. She needs Diane differently now, as a friend, not a lifeline. The calls come less often, the crises have stopped, and something in Diane quietly begins to shift, in ways that neither of them can immediately name. Pattern 1. They find a new problem in you. This is the most common first response, and it's the subtlest, which is why most people don't catch it until much later. When you stop needing help, some insecure people unconsciously start looking for reasons you still should. Not deliberately. This isn't a conscious strategy. But watch for what happens to your good news in conversations with this person. Watch how your wins land. Watch whether your happiness produces warmth in them or produces a slight pivot toward concern. That's great, but are you sure you're not taking on too much? I'm glad things are better. I just hope you're not rushing. You seem really confident about this. I just want to make sure you've thought it through. The concern sounds like care. It is care, at the surface level. But underneath it sits an unconscious refusal to fully accept your competence, because your competence threatens their function. If you're capable and fine, they're not needed. So the mind, without ever formulating this as an intention, starts generating reasons you might not be as fine as you think. Doubt gets offered dressed as wisdom. Caution gets offered dressed as love. And if you take the concern at face value and start second-guessing yourself, something in them relaxes, because you're leaning again, even if only a little. Jung would call this a shadow behavior in the classical sense, the same generosity that defined them during your difficult period, operating now in reverse, in service of the same unconscious need. The form looks identical, the function has inverted completely. Pattern 2, they withdraw and wait to see if you notice. This one is quieter and in some ways more revealing. They don't turn on you. They don't express concern or manufacture new problems. They simply become less available, slower to respond, less present, and then they wait. What are they waiting for? Your reaction, your pursuit, your demonstration that the relationship still matters to you, and specifically, your demonstration that you still need them in it. Picture this pattern in slow motion. Diane stops reaching out to Rosa quite as often. When Rosa reaches out, Diane is friendly but a little flat. Plans are suggested but don't quite happen. The warmth is still there, but it's turned down a few degrees, just enough to be felt without being nameable. If Rosa notices and says something, calls more often, expresses that she misses Diane, goes out of her way to demonstrate the friendship still matters, something in Diane eases. Not because anything has been resolved, because the reaching out itself satisfied something. The pursuit proved need, even without a crisis to need help with. If Rosa doesn't pursue, doesn't chase, continues being happy and independent without visibly mourning the reduced contact, the withdrawal tends to increase until it becomes a slow fade nobody officially acknowledged. Not a fight, not a conversation, just a relationship that quietly stopped being maintained by the person whose identity had been most invested in it. Here's what makes this pattern so confusing. It feels like you did something wrong. The withdrawal feels like a response to your behavior. But what your behavior actually was, what triggered this, was simply being okay, being capable, not needing. And those aren't things you did to anyone. Pattern 3, they recruit a narrative. This is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable, so I want you to stay with this one carefully. Some insecure people, When they lose their position in your life as the essential helper, don't withdraw quietly. They rewrite the story. Suddenly, the help they gave you becomes leverage, mentioned in contexts where it doesn't need to be mentioned, referenced in ways that subtly remind you and the people around you of a debt owed. I was there for her during everything. I gave up a lot during that time. I don't think people understand what that period was like for me. Let me put a scene to this because it's easy to miss when you're inside it. Picture Diane at a dinner with mutual friends, months after Rosa has rebuilt her life. Rosa is happy, talking about a promotion, laughing easily. And Diane says something that lands oddly in the room. Not a direct attack, nothing anyone could call out directly. Something more like, "It's so great to see you doing well. I remember when you could barely get out of bed. I used to worry about her constantly," she tells the table, directing the last sentence at the others as if Rosa weren't there. Everyone nods sympathetically at Diane. Rosa smiles and says nothing, and spends the car ride home trying to figure out why she feels subtly diminished by a sentence that was technically kind. What Diane did in that moment was convert Rosa's past difficulty into a public monument to her own devotion, with Rosa present, doing well as the evidence. The help she gave 2 years ago became, in that sentence, a claim on Rosa's current story. A reminder that Rosa's standing was built on a foundation Diane helped lay, and that Diane's role in that foundation should not be forgotten just because the building is now standing on its own. This is the helper identity trying to survive your independence by converting the history of your need into a permanent claim. If they can establish that you were helpless and they were essential, then your current competence becomes something you owe them for. A platform they built that you're now ungratefully standing on without acknowledging them. Jung would identify this as the persona breaking down and the shadow stepping through. The persona, the generous helper, the devoted friend, was real during the period it was being actively reinforced by your need. When the reinforcement stopped, the persona couldn't sustain itself on goodwill alone. The shadow underneath, resentful and frightened, starts doing the work the persona used to do, but without the grace. The result is a kind of retroactive claim on your dependency that feels, from your side, like a bewildering revision of a history you thought you both understood the same way. Pattern 4. They target your confidence specifically. Here's the one that genuinely surprises people, because it often comes from someone who spent months or years building you up. The same person who told you during your low period that you were capable and strong and going to be fine, that person can become, once you actually believe it, one of the quiet sources of subtle diminishment in your life. Not open criticism, subtle things. Comments that land just sideways enough to introduce doubt. Jokes that have an edge they didn't used to have. Comparisons to other people that position you as less than in ways that feel almost accidental. This is projection in its most concentrated form. The thing they're attacking in you, your confidence, your independence, your sense of your own capability, is the thing they most want for themselves and have spent their life unable to sustain. Your confidence, now visible and real and not provisional the way it was during your struggling period, is functioning as a mirror that shows them exactly what they don't have. And the unconscious mind, unable to look at the mirror directly, reaches for the easiest available response, dimming the reflection. What makes this so disorienting is the history. This person celebrated you when you were starting to rise. They may have been the first one to tell you things would get better. And now, having arrived somewhere better, you're finding that the same person has a quiet problem with you being there. The contradiction seems impossible until you understand that what they were celebrating during your rise wasn't you exactly. It was you needing them while you rose. The arrival, without the need, is a different proposition entirely. Pattern 5. They celebrate, and this is the one worth protecting. I want to end the patterns on this one because it matters, and it's easy to miss when you're watching for the others. Some people, when you stop needing them, simply become your friend. The support transitions naturally because it was never fundamentally about the support. It was about you as a person in a real relationship that didn't depend on your need to justify its existence. These people light up when you don't need them anymore. They celebrate your independence without any trace of the subtle behaviors in the first 4 patterns. They don't manufacture concern. They don't withdraw and wait. They don't recruit a narrative or quietly attack your confidence. Jung would say these are people whose sense of self doesn't depend on their function in your life. They can be needed when you need them and not needed when you don't, and neither state threatens anything fundamental in their own psychology. The relationship is between 2 actual people, not between a helper and a dependent. The reason it's worth naming this explicitly is that the first 4 patterns can make you suspicious of everyone who ever helped you during a hard time. That suspicion is its own kind of damage. Not every person who shows up during difficulty is there because they need your need. Some of them are just there. The tell is simple and consistent. Watch what happens to their face when you tell them good news. Not the words, the face. People who genuinely love you can't hide genuine happiness at your happiness, even for a second. People whose investment in you was always partly about what you gave them by needing them can't quite hide the pause that comes before the performance of happiness. It's brief, but it's there. And once you know to look for it, you don't miss it. Here's what ties all 5 patterns together, and it's the thing I said at the start would reframe everything. None of what we've covered is actually about you. I know it doesn't feel that way. The manufactured concern feels targeted. The withdrawal feels personal. The narrative feels like an attack. The subtle diminishment of your confidence feels like cruelty. And in the moment, in the relationship, all of it is aimed at you. Your need, your independence, your confidence, your life. But the actual cause of every single one of those patterns is something that has nothing to do with anything you did. You stopped needing them, that's all. And that stopped them from being needed, which, for a specific kind of insecure person, is not just the loss of a relationship dynamic. It's the loss of the thing that was quietly holding their sense of self together. Jung spent his entire career pointing at this. What we do to the people around us is almost never really about them. It's about the internal structures we've built that depend on them staying a certain way. When you change, when you grow, recover, strengthen, become capable, you don't owe it to anyone to stay where you were, so their internal architecture can remain undisturbed. That's not a debt you owe, and the discomfort they experience when you stop owing it is theirs to carry, not yours to absorb. Now go back to the comment you thought of at the start, or go drop one right now if you haven't yet. Celebrated, disappeared, got weird, turned on me. Which of the 5 patterns does your person fit? Because I think by now you can see that every one of those responses makes complete psychological sense. They all trace back to the same root. A person whose identity was organized in some significant part around your need for them, and who had no prepared answer for the moment that need went away. That doesn't make what they did okay, but it makes it legible. And legible is the first step to not carrying it anymore. If this gave you something to sit with, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.